Hello, Paul Alster with you here at Sportsbet TV. It is always great to be with you and looking ahead to another weekend's action, this time focusing on Saturday the 8th of January, where my gaze has been taken to 4 different venues across Britain and Ireland. I really have been scouring through to try and find the best value bets, as I see them, at each way prices across those 4 meetings. If you're discovering us for the first time, then please press the subscribe button just below this screen and join the more than 5,500 people that regularly chime in to see what I'm talking about and consider my selections. Sometimes you'll go with them and agree, other times you just won't see what I see and you'll go for other selections of your own. But it's always good to have a viewpoint. And as regular followers will know, I tend to look slightly out of the box. Very often it has proved successful, certainly showing very good profits since the service started. But as you find with longer prices, sometimes you have quiet periods, sometimes you have a winning run, and that's just the way it goes. But it is all about the long game and the overall profit that interests me. Now, last week was fairly quiet. There was just the one horse that ran well for us, My Bobby Dazzler, each way profit on that one at 10-1. The others 3 flattered only to deceive, so to speak. Although I have to say that Anna Benina at Musselburgh drifted from 4-1 out to 10-1, and clearly the market was flagging up that something wasn't right, something we couldn't have known at the time of recording. As of today, we record at noon on Friday, well ahead of the actual racing itself and ahead of a lot of the big market moves. And with less than 10 weeks to the Cheltenham Festival, which proved so amazingly profitable for us last season, a real countdown is on in the racing world. I'm not really going to start looking at Cheltenham until into February, and then I may be very selective, picking out 1 or 2 that maybe you should consider. But just hold your fire for now, because there's plenty of horses that won't make it or have other engagements. It'd be a shame to lose your money unless your bookie is offering non-runner, no bet. Do look out for that. Well, the first of my 4 selections for Saturday the 8th of January is at Newcastle, Gosforth Park, the 123. It is a 2-mile, 7-furlong handicap chase. The going is forecast good to soft, and there are 9 runners, so a nice each-way size field. Now, one trainer that goes under the radar, but she is arguably, pound for pound, one of the very best in the business, is Anne Hamilton, who trains up in the border country. And currently from her little string, most of which I think she owns herself, she's got a 38% winning strike rate this season. Indeed, 66% of her runners are placed or better. And that is a record that any of the top trainers would really envy. And she does have a runner in this race, and it was a horse that won last time out called Barnaviddaun Bob, a 7-year-old. This one is going to go off favourite. It won a 4-runner race over the course and distance 3 weeks ago by 2 lengths, staying on well. Surprisingly, has only gone up £1. So it does appear to have a very fair chance at the odds. And if you were betting to win, then maybe Barnaviddaun Bob might be the one. But I'm looking to oppose it because I'm not overly convinced of the value of the form of that 4-runner race. But I respect, as you probably have understood, Anne Hamilton, because I do think she is a marvellous trainer, the likes of Nutswell and others that have done so well for her over the years. Well, another horse that's been in good form coming into this race is Manetti, trained by Norman Alexander. Now, this one won last time out at Ayr over 3 miles in a handicap chase by just under 2 lengths and has gone up £5. But they booked a £5 claimer to negate the rise. Interesting to see how Manetti goes. JP McManus, his green and gold colours will be carried by Scoop the Pot, who's trained by Ben Haslam at Middleham. This one won by a nose in a desperate finish over course and distance last time. He showed a really good attitude. He does not shirk a fight, but he has gone up £4 for that nose victory. And he doesn't win that often. So I'll be surprised if he backs that up, unless, of course, we see money coming for him, possibly from the McManus source. And one other horse represented by another trainer that I really admire, and as many regular followers will know, he's done us wonderful favours over the years with the likes of Yorkhill and Seeyouatmidnight. That is Sandy Thompson, And he's got a horse called Donna's Delight, who's been off the course for best part of 2 years, won its last 2 starts when last seen in March of 2020. Now, Sandy can get them ready. So if there is a market move for that one, it is worth adding into your calculations. But I can't really put up a horse after such a very, very long absence. And my choice here is a horse trained at Midland called Mr. Scrumpy. Jed O'Keefe, who's a very capable trainer. Remember Sam Spinner and other horses he's done well with. He's the trainer, and Craig Nichol, the Scottish jockey, is going to be on board. This is an 8-year-old. He's won 4 of his 17 starts, and he's been placed a further 5 times. So he's got a better than 50% place and win record in his career. His last win came at Wetherby in a handicap hurdle over 3 miles in October of 2020 off a mark of 129. And it was in October of this season, in 2021, that he made his chasing bow when 5th of 11 at Carlisle after 6.5 months off. Ran well there to 2 out, then got tired in very testing ground. So he probably just needed that one. And then last time out, he travelled really well indeed. He travelled best and joined the leader when he made a mistake 4 out. And after that, maybe slightly shaken. He was a little awkward at the 3rd last, but then he rallied and kept on after the last in the race won by Scoop the Pot here at Newcastle. And he is now £6 better off at just over 6 lengths. And I think had he jumped the 4th last, he might well have gone on close to win. This is a horse that I think has the ability to win a race at this level, and I think he's well handicapped now. And so Mr. Scrumpy for me is the choice. Now, there's only one firmer up early at noon on Friday, and that is good old William Hill's, although their book is betting to 125%, which means they've gone a little bit cautious on a lot of the prices, many of which may well drift. And the odds they've assigned to Mr. Scrumpy is 6-1. So an each-way price, no doubt about it, for Mr. Scrumpy, but you may well find bigger once the other players come into the market and it starts to get competitive. And with 4 last time out winners in the field, there's every chance that given his form figures, Mr. Scrumpy may well drift. Then again, if they see my thoughts, who knows, maybe they'll decide that he is going to run a decent race. So that is Mr. Scrumpy, Newcastle 123 on Saturday. He's our first selection. And then probably, as they're crossing the line at Newcastle, they'll be coming under orders at Wincanton down in Somerset. And that is for the 130. Now, this is a handicap hurdle over what used to be an illegal trip, because it used to be that 2 miles was the absolute minimum, but that's changed with less than 2 miles being run at Wetherby, and also here at Wincanton, where they run the shortest handicap hurdle in Britain, which is 1 mile and 7 furlongs. Now, there are 14 runners, and the going is good to soft. And it's an open-looking affair with 4-1 the field or thereabouts, Planned Paradise and Pittsburgh. Now, Neil Mulholland trains Planned Paradise, who won a handicap hurdle on his handicap bow at Newcastle 3 weeks ago for a mark of just 93, jumped well and stayed on strongly, and has gone up £11. Now, this is a modest race. Make no bones about it. It's a modest race. He's gone up £11. Sounds a lot, but he may well have been starting very much on the right side of the handicapper. So that's Planned Paradise. Now, Ryan Potter is a trainer who's only joined the ranks in the last year. He's doing well, and he's got a horse called Pittsburgh, who's quite interesting. And he was well back last time when sent off joint favourite, but he pulled up. Previously won by a neck at Catterick over 2 miles, 3 furlongs, drops back half a mile here, gone up to £6. Just a horse who I think he might go well, Pittsburgh. The Catterick effort was a good one, but I'm just not overly convinced. There's one trainer that's really been doing well through the first half of this season and catching a lot of attention, and that is Milton Harris. And he's got a horse called Milado. Now, this creature is rated just 84. That's very low. He won a Taunton 2 mile handicap hurdle on good to firm ground in October off just 76. He's been placed all 3 starts since in modest company. And then you've got Anthony Hannibal's Midnight Callisto, who was second at Taunton last time. He was beaten a length, but he's gone up £5. So obviously the handicapper rated that race is probably above average for the grade. One horse that I gave a lot of thought to here as far as selection goes is a horse called the Cincinnati Kid. not just because it's one of my favourite movers with Edward G. Robinson, but because it is a horse that has a chance here. It's trained by Henry Oliver. It's had a wind operation and a tongue tie since it was last seen, and it was not disgraced last time at Market Raisin. And I think it has a squeak if the wind operation has done the trick. But my choice here is Coupe de Bol for Tom George. Try that again. For Tom George and Jonathan Burke. Now, this horse is a very lightly raced ex-French gelding by Rajsaman. Now, he was a close third on his debut at Compiègne in a 4-year-old hurdle in April of 2019. He is a very, very lightly raced and unexposed horse. He then joined Tom George and was prominent for a long way, eventually finishing 6 of 16 on his British debut at Newbury over 2 miles in a maiden hurdle in November of 2019, well over 2 years ago. And then he was off for 2 years. This lovely, big, powerful-looking grey went missing. Now, he obviously had a problem. I'd also suggest that because he's such a big horse, he may well have still been a little bit backward and immature, and they may have decided to give him time to get over whatever injury or niggle was bothering. But he reappeared at Newbury 3 weeks ago, and I thought he shaped really well for a horse having its first run for over 2 years. He finished 6 of 13 to a horse of Nicky Henderson's at Newbury called I Am Maximus. And that horse went on to be a very close second in a good listed hurdle just last week. So the form has already worked out pretty well. Raymond Tuss, the runner-up as well, is a 100-plus rated horse on the flat, never mind over jumps. So given the fact that he travelled strongly for so well, and I thought he jumped really well too. He really did jump well. And he was only 2 lengths off the pace at the second last, where he probably blew up. He weakened, but then he just kept on again after the last. He wasn't losing any more ground on them. And I think he's going to be much better for the run. And that run was his first in the wind operation. So they'll obviously have been keen to see that he got home all right. And I thought he did. And here on his handicap bow, he's assigned just 106. And in this modest race, that means he's going to carry top weight. I wouldn't be at all concerned about the weight, because if you get a chance to see him, you'll see he's a big, strong horse. He runs in the colours of Terry Warner, who, of course, Rooster Booster was probably his best ever horse. He loves his greys, and he tends to acquire good ones as well. And at the time of this recording, Coupe de Bol is 11 to 1 each way, and that's offered for 4 places with the likes of Bet365 and also with William Hill. So that's Coupe de Bol to make a winning handicap debut. I think he could be on a decent mark for Tom George and Jonathan Burke in the Wincanton 130 race. And then I take you across the Irish Sea to Cork. Now, it isn't one of the best cards on a Saturday in Ireland, where often they have some tremendous racing at the weekend. But the 213 is a 2.5-mile handicap hurdle for which there are 12 runners, and the going is soft to heavy. Now, at the time of this recording, there are no odds available, and it really is a trappy event. But there are some contenders that are sure to figure prominently, and they include the Liz Doyle-trained Bois de Calmart, who won a Agrapart 2.5-mile handicap chase in November. And then he went and fell at the first last time out at Leopardstown 12 days ago. He's brought back to hurdles, and they've got Sean Flanagan on board, and I'm sure he'll give him a good ride. Castle Grange is trained by a guy called James Dalia, who does pretty well over there. And this horse was back to form when second on its latest start at Limerick. Has gone up £3 for that, but would have every chance. Then a horse that I'm very nearly tipped here is called That's Life Boy. He's trained by John Ryan and was second at Tremor in a novice chase last week. So he's turning out again pretty quickly. He does run a lot, this horse. He's got a lightweight and he's back over hurdles. And the stable had a winner when I was presenting the racing at Clonmel for the internet radio on Thursday. So John Ryan's horses are in pretty decent form. Now, one horse you can't rule out is a veteran 12-year-old called Scorn Ma, trained by Thomas Mullins for JP McManus. And he's a stayer, really. He won the Leinster National over 3 miles last season. And then he was 8th in the Irish National off 143 at the end of the season. He's been off for 252 days, but he's rated £20 lower over hurdles and fences. If he does happen to be fit, ready to go first time out, and there is a market move, and given his owner, it is not impossible, then Scormar would be one to certainly be concerned about. But my choice here is a horse called Shoe Time. Shoe Time, trained by James, better known as Jimmy Nash, and the mount of Rachel Blackmore. And this horse, his last win came at Galway, and that was in a handicap chase in October of 2020, so 15 months ago. But he's put in plenty of solid runs since then, but has been mostly ridden, and this is significant, by traditional jockeys or amateur riders for the most part. I think Kevin Sexton did ride him on one occasion, but mostly conditional and amateur riders. Now, his latest run was over at Cheltenham. They sent him to Cheltenham. He was fourth in a listed event won by Sporting John. He was only beaten 5 lengths, and he was ridden by Gavin Broder, claiming £5 that day. It was a very, very good effort. Now, this horse has won at the track before, back in 2019. So we know he goes on the course. We know he comes here in good form after that good run at Cheltenham. And for me, really significantly, Jimmy Nash has booked Rachel Blackmore. And of course, the great Rachel has this amazing thirst for winners. And I think she's got a massive chance on Shoe Time. Now, the Irish tend to be priced up much later than the British racing, and there are no prices available at the time of this recording. So we have to estimate the market. My view is that it would be nice to get 5 to 1 each way about Shoe Time. That really would be a fair price. I know that Time Form on their preview forecasted at 8 to 1. If you can get 8 to 1 Shoe Time, let me know, because I'd like some of it. 5 to 1 I'm hoping for each way, but it is an estimated price for Shoe Time. And if it does happen to go shorter and there is money for it, then it might be one that you consider betting win only. So that is Shoe Time for Jimmy Nash and Rachel Blackmore at Cork in the 2:13 on Saturday. And then I'll take you on to my final selection, and as yet, nothing from Sandown, where there's a great meeting. It is, of course, a grade 1 meeting with the big novice hurdle. But as with so many of the cards this weekend, not that many handicap races where it is easy to bet each way for at least 3 places. Generally, a lot of small fields. But at Sandown, the 3 o'clock is a 3-mile veterans handicap chase. So you've got to be 11 years old or upwards. The going is soft, and there are 13 runners. And those that have been with me over a period of time will remember this race from 12 months ago, because I tipped you a horse trained by good old Sandy Thompson called Seeyouatmidnight. I tipped him at the recommended 20 to 1. He was the subject of really good market support on the day of the race, was back down to 10 to 1, and he made every yard of the running to win. So that was a terrific win for us at 20 to 1 in this race last year. Now, this year is probably an even better renewal, because the top weight is Venetia Williams' very, very classy ASO. Now, he is a really good horse. He carries 11 stone 12. Charlie Deutsch will be on board. And of course, he was second last time out in that pudding of a race at Haydock, won by Black Lion, who just revelled in the conditions. And ASO did best of the rest. There weren't many finishers, as far as I can recall. He's gone up £2 again for that, but he had come down the weight since the type of ratings he had when contesting grade 1. Now, if he's on his game, and if that race at Haydock hasn't taken it out of him, then he would be hard to beat. But he is there to be shot at, giving away quite a lot of weight. Amongst those to consider is the 13-year-old Final Nudge for Fergal O'Brien, who was third at Utopster in the Midlands National in March. He was having his first run since, when he won at Warwick in November over 3 miles and has gone up £3. So he's clearly in great heart, the old boy. The 11-year-old Wandering Star for Kim Bailey. He won over course and distance last time out in November. He beat Dancing Shadow, who will also reoppose, and he beat him 1.5 lengths. And Wandering Star has gone up £3, and this will be his second start since having a wind operation. Rolling Dillon for Philip Harps. He went point-to-pointing last season, but he's come back under rules, and this term has finished second at Aintree in October, and then second over course and distance last month. So he's a horse also in great heart. And these old chasers, you know, they really have some relish for the game, and any of them on their day could decide they fancy the job and put in a big effort. But my choice here is the King's Writ. And the King's Writ is trained Down in the southwest by Kaylee Woolacott, who just has a small string, and Joshua Newman, significantly, good amateur rider, claims £7. Now, what we know about this horse is that he stays 3 miles and he likes some cut underfoot. So easy ground is going to suit. He didn't win last term, but he did run some good races in defeat, including when second in heavy ground over 3¼ miles at Wincanton in January of last year off 135. And then he was a good third behind Sir Ivan at Newbury last March. Sir Ivan will reoppose in this race. So as you can see, a lot of these veterans take each other on time and time again. Now, on December the 3rd at Exeter, he had his first run back, and it was over an inadequate 2 miles, 3 furlongs. So really, even just looking at the race before he ran, you'd say, well, this horse, it's probably just getting him ready, a first run of the term to clear the old cobwebs away. But in hindsight, he had an impossible task, because he was asked to give £2 to a horse of Venetia's called L'Empress, who has been one of the most impressive and fastest improving horses of the season, is unbeaten this year, and is a potential Cheltenham Festival serious candidate. So the fact he was being asked to give £2 to that horse over the wrong trip meant he was never going to have a chance. He raced well for a long way until just getting outpaced, approaching the last on the far side, and then he just came home in his own time. Happily, the handicapper has dropped him £4 since then to 133. And then when you add in Newman's £7 claim, taking him down to an effective mark of 126, it means that in my book, the King's Writ has got a proper chance, because he's back at his optimum trip over a course that will suit him, and with the ground also likely to suit, and that run under his belt should have put him just about spot on. So given all that, I think the King's Writ can go really well. The stable, of course, they lost Lalor, who was moved to Paul Nicholls, and they'll be looking really very keen to try and get a high-profile winner on ITV, just to remind people they can train a winner or two if you're interested. So the King's Writ, 10-1 each way. 5 places are offered at that price by Sky Bet, so that's the one to have. Others are offering 4, but do shop around, as always. So there we have it, my last selection, Sandown 3 o'clock, the King's Writ. And that's my 4 for this weekend. Let's hope that they all run really well and we can enjoy some really good racing and have a bit of a shout. I'll be back at the same time next week, win, lose or draw. So for now, from me, Paul Alster, here at Sportsbet, enjoy your weekend. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.